Above and Beyond salute.
Ben Falso there.
It's Ben.
Each week, we look for people who go above and beyond. And someone notified us and let us know about how you've been in the military since you were 18.
That is correct.
How many years have you been in?
Just over 21 right now.
How many deployments have you had altogether?
This will be my third.
We have a $40 gift card for you for the service that you have given not only to our country, but to our community.
I appreciate it.
Recognizing first responders and other deserving individuals in our community on News Talk KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. The Narrows and all routes that exit through it at Zion National Park are currently closed to hiking and canyoneering as a result of high water volumes in the Virgin River. That's because the river, boosted by both heavy rains and snowpack runoff, jumped to as much as 2,140 cubic feet per second on Wednesday. It dropped to 408 cubic feet per second by 9 a.m. Thursday, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. However, that is still more than 2.5 times the limit when park officials close the popular hike due to the strong currents. The park routinely closes the trail to hiking and canyoneering in the spring when snowmelt runoff exceeds 150 cubic feet per second. According to the park's website, walking can be challenging and crossings of mid-thigh high deep are frequent with pools that can be chest deep once the river exceeds even 70 cubic feet per second. Now, Riverside Walk, a paved trail that begins at the Temple of Siwa Sinawava, does remain open, but a park spokesperson said Wednesday that the Narrows hiking closure could potentially last months because of just how much snowpack is yet to melt into the river. KBNU News Time is 5:07. KBNU weather for tonight. Mostly clear, low 5 to 10 above, and then partly cloudy, then clearing on Saturday. High temperature in the upper 30s. It's been to 31. It's 31 degrees right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by U&I Furniture. U&I customers come back again and again because they love the quality and value they find. U&I supports local manufacturers and American-made brands like Southern Motion, who specialize in reclining furniture, or Best Brand Furniture, who offer more petite styles. There's always a better buy at U&I, downtown Logan, 28 West, 1st North.
This is David from Roof Rescue. A roof is not something most people think about until they notice a leak on the ceiling. This time of year, fluctuation in temperatures, along with rain, snow, and ice, can do a number on your roof. If you notice these leaks, they won't go away on their own and are oftentimes a sign that the roof has reached the beginning of the end of its life. Call Roof Rescue for a free analysis, diagnosis, and estimate. Let's fix those leaks and keep you dry this winter. Call 435-999-4268 or visit roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KBNU News Time is 5:08. A 9-year-old boy was airlifted to a hospital after a roof slide of snow buried him at an Alta condominium. According to officials of the Alta Marshal's Office, they were called to a condominium complex in the town of Alta on Wednesday just before 5:30 p.m. following reports of a child who had been buried in snow from a roof slide. Press release says that the Alta Town Marshal's Office deputy arrived within 2 minutes and began a search using an avalanche probe. Members of the UDOT avalanche forecasting team arrived and quickly joined the deputy. The boy was quickly found and dug out from under the snow. Officials say the boy was flown in an improved, stable condition to Primary Children's Hospital after being taken by ambulance to a Lifelight helicopter at an Alta ski resort landing zone. Additional details, including the identity of the boy, was not released. And affordable housing received a boost of $10 million as part of the state budget passed by the Utah State Legislature in the session ending earlier this month. These dollars will go to the Utah Housing Preservation Fund, which renovates housing to serve low to moderate income Utahns. Funding from the state and private investors have helped preserve more than 2,750 units of affordable housing in Utah. Representative Stephen White, co-chair of the Utah Commission on Housing Affordability, said preserving your existing affordable housing is one of the most effective and quickest ways to impact housing affordability. The Utah Housing Preservation Fund is becoming a national model for public-private partnerships that are solely focused on a mission to stabilize families and communities. The $10 million investment from the state will be matched by private philanthropies and community-oriented banks to preserve 550 housing units over the next 3 years. Those served include refugees, veterans, and people experiencing homelessness. KBNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM at 102.1 FM.
The Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show presented by Anderson Seed and Garden is Friday and Saturday, March 24th and 25th at the Eccles Eye Center. Experience over 100 vendors with garden, concrete, doors, windows, pest control, landscaping, cabinetry, home remodeling, solar information, tree care. The list is endless. Food, fun, and kids activities provided by the United Way of Cache Valley. Free parking, easy access, and so many ideas at this year's Cache Valley Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Eye Center, March 24th and 25th.
Where do you turn for help when you have ear, nose, or throat issues? Doctors Kaiser or Wilson at Intermountain Healthcare, Budge Clinic ENT are trusted names throughout Cache Valley. Their 5-star reviews tell the story. One person wrote, Dr. Wilson answered all of my questions and was very thorough. Another person wrote, Dr. Wilson took time to ask a lot of questions and figure out what was going on. For more information about Doctors Kaiser or Wilson, search Budge Clinic ENT on the web. Doctors Kaiser and Wilson provide local care with Intermountain expertise.
All right, dads, let's test your knowledge. Ready? What does this sound? Some of the more experienced parents recognize it as the sound a young teenager makes when he's done something he regrets. Listen. Kind of a sad sound, isn't it? But if you recognized it, then you know exactly what to do. Listen, because that's when together you can both figure out how not to make the same mistake again.
This message from The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Gomer Pyle, USMC.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. So we went with it anyway, but we're hoping for. We're gonna have to fix that. I cannot believe we don't have a drop of Gomer Pyle shouting Shazam, but we don't. So we will fix that. But we went with Gomer Pyle anyway. Surprise, surprise, and the Gomer Pyle theme song. The reason we're doing that, of course, is Shazam 2 by Bill. Bill's leaving us. He's had enough. Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, is open in theaters this weekend. There's actually quite a bit of new stuff opening this weekend. Blueback, Snowy Day in Oakland, a movie called Inside, which we'll talk about later. And you can also, Moving On with Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. Few of these are near us. Well, if you want to go to Ogden or Salt Lake, they're that near. Shazam, however, though, is right here. You can also still see 65 with Adam Driver, although from everything I've read, maybe you don't want to. Champions with Woody Harrelson, which looks unique. It's getting kind of mixed reviews. And, of course, Scream 6 in theaters. I went back and rewatched some of the Scream franchise, just out of curiosity. And it was these hold up better than I remember. I really liked the first one, the original I don't even remember what year, but 90s sometime. Wes Craven directed, Kevin Williamson written. Kevin Williamson, if you don't remember the name, his writing was all over all kinds of stuff around that time, including, I think, one of the most underrated PG-13, not so scary but very well done horror movies, The Faculty, starring Jon Stewart and Josh Hartnett, back when he was a thing. But that original Scream was just it was so different from what was coming out, what was happening, what was getting a lot of attention, and it was making fun of horror movies, but at the same time, still a horror movie itself, or a slasher film. 1996, a listener says, thank you. I couldn't Google and talk at the same time. So this first one comes out in 1996. A few years later, it gets a sequel, also Wes Craven. After that, it gets a third, and then a fourth, and then a fifth, which is also kind of a reboot / sequel, and now a sixth, which is a straight-up sequel. But what's interesting, and sticking with that, this is what I think kind of got lost in some of the sequels, that original Scream movie was, as I said, making fun of horror movies and a lot of the tropes of horror movies, while at the same time making the movie scary in a different way, which was more of a atmospheric tension, and then throwing a mystery in too, because one thing different about the Scream movies versus a straight up horror movie is that you don't actually know who the killer is. That's the point of every Scream movie, is it's a mystery. But what went missing around Scream 3 and didn't make its way back into 4 or 5 was this tongue-in-cheek send-up of the horror genre itself and the tropes of the most famous movies, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Ironically, this is what made it great, too. It was directed by Wes Craven, who is one of the biggest contributors to those horror movie tropes with the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And his role in many horror movies over the years. So he was kind of making fun of himself at the same time when Scream came out. And then that theme of, poking fun at the horror genre stuck around in 2 and a little bit in 3. And then by 4, it was gone. Didn't come back in 5. And now in Scream 6, they're back at it. And what's so funny about this, I think, is that what they're poking fun at in Scream 6 is that in horror franchise history, it's usually like the 5th or 6th installment where the Urban Dictionary phrase would be "jump the shark," where they go to try and keep things fresh. They go so far out there that most people see it just to see how bad it is, because they see the trailer and think, "You got to be kidding me." I'm talking about Friday the 13th. They sent Jason to space. But before that, there was Manhattan. And that is where Scream 6 chooses its satire of the horror genre. Because this is taking some of the key players, some of the folks who have been a part of this franchise, which is also kind of unique. There have been new characters in each and every installment, but there are these handful of staples that have been there since the very first movie, which makes the Scream series different than other horror movie franchises as well. And in this one, they take the remaining, spoiler alert, the few that are still alive, original cast members, minus one, who refused to appear in the movie because, she felt that she was so key to the franchise that they should stop paying her so little, which I think, Nev Campbell, more power to you. So she said, no, I want what someone else would get for a franchise that is this successful, or I'm not doing it. And they said, well, we think we can do it without you, which I personally think this movie seems to be performing well. So they're not going to be completely regretting that decision. But I think this movie, as well done as it is, and as great of a possibly final bookend on the franchise as it ends up being, I think they're going to regret not having her in it. For if it is the last one, and maybe it's not, they're saying this is the story's played out. They don't think it can go forward credibly, and so. But what they're doing again is they're taking those remaining original cast members and some new cast, the new players, and they're throwing them all together in New York. And they're doing this in a way that they're obvious about the fact that they're making fun of. They're recognizing that this is the 6th installment in a movie, in a horror franchise, and that is, again, traditionally where the other franchises, usually episode 5, 6, 7-ish somewhere, the other franchises have just gone way, way out there to the point where, again, you see the trailer and think, you got to be kidding me. And I remember thinking that when it was, I think it was Jason Does Manhattan. Was it Friday the 13th, 8 or 9? It was 8, maybe 7. Yeah. And then after that, they I'm not kidding, they sent Jason to space. With the Nightmare on Elm Street series, Wes Craven had of course parted ways with the franchise years before this happened. But the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, at a certain point, they had had Freddy so far away from those original movies and the themes of those movies that made them scary. They had him like traveling the world and popping. It was just it was just so ridiculous. And so Scream 6 is straight up making fun of that. Making fun of the fact that by this time in a franchise, usually they get so desperate for ideas, they're doing something like Jason Does Manhattan. But in this case, they do exactly that. They take their original cast members and some new cast members, and they set the movie in New York City, and they do it in a way that is it's funny, actually. So if you're a fan of the franchise, you'll definitely like Scream 6. If you're not a fan of the franchise, here's one thing I can say about Scream 6. You don't have... There are a few moments that, for someone who had just recently watched all of the movies, just as a refresher because it had been so long, for me there were a few minutes near the start of the movie where my brain wandered a little bit. I thought, okay, yeah, I mean, we got this. But then I realized, not everyone got this. This is a long-running franchise. First one, again, way back in 1996. And so there were a few moments where there's some extra, just opining, some people just, extrapolating the backstory for you in a way that it's natural and it fits. It doesn't seem hokey or contrived. But that's obviously what they're doing is basically saying, okay, for those of you that wandered into Scream 6, having not seen all or any of the original movies, you need to know some stuff. And so here's the backstory on everything up until now. So, again, Scream 6 in theaters here in Logan. You can also still see Everything Everywhere. That is rated R, by the way. I mentioned some PG-13 horror movies there written by Kevin Williamson. Scream, the original, and all of them have been R, mainly for graphic violence, but of the cartoonish. Again, remember, they're making fun of horror movies, so it's kind of cartoonish in a way. So here in Logan, though, you can see if you watch the Oscars, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think 7 different Oscars they walked away with. That is actually back in theaters, playing here in Logan. You can see it online a few places right now. Paramount Plus is where it's playing, and then, of course, it's available for purchase or rent on Amazon, Google TV, and places like that. But if you want to see it in a theater, it is back. Probably not for long, a week at most, but Everything Everywhere All at Once, also rated R, one of the biggest winners of the Oscars last Sunday. That is playing here in Logan at the Providence Theater alongside, again, Scream 6, Champions, Adam Driver in 65. It's dinosaurs and time travel. And from what I've heard, it is bad. And the opener this weekend, which we'll be talking about with Andy here in a bit, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, the second. And interestingly enough for the DC universe, as they're trying to build this universe up, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, it will not have a third installment. This is it for the Shazam franchise, which is interesting, again, considering what they're trying to do at DC. Creed 3, also back in theaters here in light of the Oscars. That got a lot of mentions, so that was gone for a bit, went away for a week, now it's back. Cocaine Bear still playing. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania still playing. That is at the Providence Megaplex Theaters. And the only other offering out there that you can catch I'm sorry, it's gone. Never mind. I was going to say there was one more that you could see at University, but it looks like that one disappeared this morning. So never mind. Those are your movie choices. Again, we'll be talking about Shazam. We'll recap the Oscars and get Andy's take on how things went or didn't go. It was kind of a weird Oscars in a way, but overall, I think people seem to be pretty pleased with the nominees and the awards so far. You're welcome to weigh in as well. 753-5868 to join us here on the For the People movie show. Andy Morgan joining us in just a bit, right after this.
Own a small business or a farm? You thought about solar? Listen up. A new USDA grant was announced allocating $300 million for farmers and small business owners to put in solar. That's right. The government will help you get solar installed, covering 40% of the cost. And don't forget, as a business, you can save up to 50 or 60% more with federal and state tax credits. Second Sun Solar will install your system and help with the USDA paperwork. Call Second Sun Solar today at 435-363-9917 or online at utahsolardirect.com. Most people who buy from You and I Furniture are repeat customers. They come back again and again. So it's important to You and I to sell furniture with value and quality. And You and I loves what they do. They support local manufacturers and American-made brands. You and I's line of Southern Motion specializes in reclining furniture. Best Brand Furniture offers more petite styles. And You and I just added Klosner, who has a wide range of options and takes lots of special orders. It's a family-owned four-generation furniture store where value and quality is and always has been offered. That's why it's always a better buy at You and I Furniture, downtown Logan.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People movie show. I forgot the top streaming offerings for this weekend if you're looking for something to watch. Shadow and Bone. Well, let me back up a little bit. This is interesting. Every single time, and it's off and on. It's there for a while and then it goes away. But every single time, the Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan's second installment in his Batman trilogy, the one with the Joker, Heath Ledger. Every time The Dark Knight is available on Netflix, it dominates the Netflix. The only other thing to dominate Netflix viewership more than their original content was The Office. And The Office went away a couple of years ago when Peacock launched. They yanked it from other streaming services, and you can only see that now on Peacock, their version of Netflix, NBC's version of Netflix. That was the only other time this would regularly happen. But looking at some of the Netflix viewing data, which they're pretty transparent about, they put this out all the time. Every time The Dark Knight is available on Netflix, which it is again this week and will be for I think another week, and then it goes away again. It just dominates. I love the movie, so I don't. This doesn't surprise me. It's one of the. For some reason, I can't watch the first one repeatedly. I can watch it; it's good. I like it, but that was not my favorite. In fact, I was kind of a Christopher Nolan Batman naysayer after that first installment. But Batman Begins. But The Dark Knight comes along, and I was just blown away by that movie. It opens like a heist movie, which I love. It transitions from that into like a police procedural / organized crime movie, which I also love. And then it goes from there into more of a traditional superhero, Batman saves the day, really, really original bad guy, one of the best Jokers. Not just, everyone talks about that movie, and it says the Joker is so great because of Ledger's performance, which is true, but also the way they wrote the Joker in that one, just such a really unique bad guy. It's just an amazing movie. But yeah, so that is dominating Netflix because it's been there this week, but also topping streaming services across the board, also on Netflix, season 2 of Shadow and Bone. This is based, the first season at least was based, I don't know about this one, but the first season was based on a popular young adult novel, fantasy novel. I watched it. It was actually pretty good. I haven't seen season 2 yet. The Last of Us on HBO, topping the streaming services. Some Utah controversy over this. I don't know why they did it. Apparently in the game they don't do this, but the controversy is that there is the episode is in Salt Lake City, and they digitally alter the skyline for a panning shot. So nerds broke down the episode of The Last of Us that was in Salt Lake. If you're not familiar with this, they're traveling the country in a post apocalyptic setting based on a video game and popular game. And as they make it to Salt Lake City, there's this scene where there's a pan of the skyline, and so they have to digitally double the skyline. So Salt Lake City residents pointed out there are a couple of buildings that show up twice in this, but others then were quick to note that the Salt Lake City Temple doesn't. And people were upset about this. They were kind of angry that was scrubbed. Show producers, though, said they did this just because it was such an iconic building. They didn't want to be that obvious about where they were, and they thought that made it too obvious. So the reasons were innocent, but and again, Last of Us also topping the streaming services. So now we're caught up. We'll get to it. What Andy thought of Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, the Oscars, and more coming up right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News brought to you by Logan Extermination. Governor Cox says he will sign a bill that requires students to present certain types of identification to play sports, despite calls from immigration advocates for him to veto the bill. Opponents of the bill say HB 209 would effectively bar immigrant youths who do not have or cannot easily access the identification documents required by the bill. HB 209 was originally written to allow online, private, charter, and homeschool students to play sports outside of their home district, but was eventually combined with HB 463. which prohibited public schools from participating in athletic associations that do not collect a birth certificate or other ID during registration. Cox said during his monthly news conference Thursday the purpose of the bill was actually to allow more participation in sports, not less. HB 209 sponsor, Representative Jordan Tusher of South Jordan, said previously that community advocates are misinformed about his bill and that it will impact very few, if any, undocumented students' ability to participate in sports. He said the same documentation that an individual student would have to give in order to register in the school themselves are the documentations that are accepted to participate in athletic sports. Cox added the required identification, which is described in the bill as a birth certificate or, for non-citizens, another state-issued or federally recognized ID, could include foreign documents as well. The governor issued an executive order Thursday providing an optional 8 hours of administrative leave for all state employees of executive branch agencies to support community flood responses. Utah has experienced high levels of precipitation this winter season, leading to snowpack levels exceeding 150% in most of the state. The increased water will help with the state's ongoing drought, but precipitation is already causing flooding and creating flood risks. Governor Cox said with the weather warming up, flooding is a major disaster concern in Utah. State employees are community-minded, and he says they know that many will want to support their local emergency response teams for the common good. And the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation granted $2.4 million Thursday for cloud seeding in the upper Colorado River Basin. The Southern Nevada Water Authority voted Thursday to accept the grant aimed at enhancing snowfall in neighboring western states whose water they rely on. The federal support for efforts to pull more water from clouds comes after years of devastating drought in the region. In the upper Colorado River Basin, Utah and Colorado have been seeding clouds for decades. Wyoming has nearly a decade of experience, and New Mexico recently started approving permits for warm weather seeding in the eastern part of the state. KBNU weather mostly clear tonight, low 5 to 10 above. Partly cloudy Saturday, then clearing, high temperature in the upper 30s. Weather brought to you by My Mattress. It's time to get your spring sheets and blankets freshened up. Use Mount Logan Laundry's 55 and 80-pound washers in Logan and Brigham. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
The bugs love the good weather. I'm guessing you have a bunch of those creepy crawlers waiting patiently to come into your cozy home. Let Logan Extermination take care of those unwanted pests with a monthly exterior spray. Now for a limited time, they'll spray your home's exterior monthly from April to October for only $65 per month for a 1,500 square foot home. Call Logan Extermination before your home becomes enemy territory. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Ah, hear that? That's the announcement that spring has arrived. It's not just spring, but great deals are worth singing about too. Luckily for you, it's the Spring Spectacular Sale at Discount Tire and Automotive. And those noteworthy deals are everywhere, store-wide. Like when you buy a set of 4 select BF Goodrich tires, you can save up to $149. Choose Discount Tire for the lowest tire prices anywhere. Plus, get the best financing options around. Choose 12 months, no interest, no credit check financing or layaway. Whatever your budget, Discount Tire and Automotive has the will and the way. Hurry, these special savings end April 30th. You won't find a better deal online or at any other store. Make your tire and service reservations online 24/7 at webtires.net. It's the Spring Spectacular Sale at Discount Tire, 885 North Main in Logan, 110 South Highway 165 in Providence, and 728 South Main in Smithfield.
Discount Tire. So much more than a tire store.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com joining us here. And,
Hello.
Andy, shout out to your work schedule. You just returned from other places, and
I was doing a live action recreation of The Hangover. And Hangover 2.
But you know what I've been concerned about all week?
Oh, no.
Is that while you were away on a business trip to Vegas, and the timing of this I know you didn't get to see the Oscars live.
I didn't, and I also...
And I've been worried about you all week.
I want to talk about this.
Because that's the first, I think, in the time I've known you.
I want to talk about two
Are you
things.
okay?
You know what? Well, put a pin in that for just a second. Because I also missed the Shazam press screening. So everyone's like, I can't wait to hear what he says about Shazam. And I'm like, Shazano. Burn. No. But I did catch up.
But I know you still have a lot to say about it.
I did. And so what we're going to do next Friday is we're going to have a double review feature of Shazam 2. Because I got to be honest with you, not doing cartwheels for this one. I'm feeling not cartwheels for superhero stuff recently.
So I listened to your colleague, Sean Means from the Salt Lake Tribune, and he said, well, he prefaced this whole thing by saying, okay, first off, I'm not a comic book nerd. I don't know the intimate history of the DC comic book universe, but I know enough to know that the trailer, after I saw the movie, the trailer spoils the movie. And he was really mad about that.
Yeah.
And he said, so he and the hosts of the show he was on were talking about this, it was on TV, and they said, why would a studio do that? And he said, a studio does that when they themselves think no one's coming.
That's probably pretty accurate. I mean, my guess is it'll win the weekend.
Yeah. No competition.
Because there's not a lot of competition.
Well, Adam Driver in 65, for those who haven't seen the time travel dinosaur movie.
And just so you know, got greenlit for a sequel. Never mind.
Really?
No, I was going to make a joke.
Wow.
I was going to make a joke.
Oh, it's awful.
It wasn't going to be a good joke. I'm going to leave that one alone. Do yourself a favor this weekend. Go to the Providence Stadium Theater and go see Everything Everywhere All at Once on the big screen. It probably will be on their lowest screen, so you could also watch it on.
Well, because this movie is
Showtime
old now.
on demand.
By modern.
It came out a year ago.
Yeah, so it's old now. But,
it is old.
But it's so good.
It is.
And it's also one that I wouldn't say you have to see this on the big screen. It's a lot more fun on the big screen.
Sure, I agree. But no, we're going to do a double feature next Friday. We're going to do Andy's apology tour of Shazam 2.
Shazam.
And then we're also going to talk about John Wick 4, the final chapter, which we had just heard today that one of the actors in John Wick 4 and one of my favorite video game voice actors has passed. So that was a little bit sad. It's 60 years old. I'm a Destiny 1 and 2 fan.
Is that what it was?
Wise, and he was the voice of Commander Zavala.
Really?
Yeah, and
we'll tell everybody who we're talking about.
You know how
for those who don't know,
NPCs, right? Oh yeah, everyone's like, wait, who was it? We're not going to tell you.
Google it. That's not my job.
We're going to have you wait until in memoriam next year.
It's a secret.
No, the gentleman's name is Lance Reddick. He was also on The Wire. That's probably where people know him the most.
That's where
definitely great character actor. But
with.
John Wick, and again, if you're a video game guy like me, like with Destiny 2, he was the voice of Commander Zavala, which actually I'm not gonna lie, it just makes me pretty sad.
That won't be a thing again.
Yeah, we'll talk about those things next week. Two things I want to talk about really quick. From a streaming standpoint, before we get to the Oscars, I did watch the last episode of The Last of Us. I know how the video game ends.
Did you hear Did you hear me? I was talking about the controversy, quote unquote, here in Utah. Because the finale is in Salt Lake.
In Salt Lake City, right.
But they did that there's a panning shot where they doubled the Salt Lake City horizon. So you see some buildings repeat if you look close. But you don't see the temple. And people were mad. They were legitimately mad. Why would they do this? And the showrunner said, well, we didn't want to be that obvious about the location. It's a really iconic building that you're not going to see anywhere else in the United States. And so if we did that, it's too in your face where they are.
I'll have to go back and look, but I felt like when Ellie and Joel first got to Salt Lake City and they went up on that skyscraper and they were looking out and they were feeding the giraffe. Remember that?
Yeah.
I thought it was a weird thing because it looked like it looked like there was a ballpark right there.
Yeah.
But
I
then
think they took some shots of the city and merged them
that's
together.
how the video game is. But then I looked over too, and when I looked out, I thought I could see like the church office building.
Oh, maybe.
And then I thought I could see the tabernacle, right? The dome
I don't remember
Temple
it.
Square.
I'll have to go back and look.
And then I thought I could see the temple, but it looked like it was in scaffolds, like it is now, the Salt Lake Temple. So I didn't pause it to like do some dissection.
I'm gonna have to go back and look. I just know it was such a big deal. The Soldier being reported on it.
No, it makes sense.
People were angry about this, but
geez, I wonder who was angry about it.
But also a great episode.
No, it was, and it was. They ended it perfectly.
Yeah,
they really did. Now the question is, right, Jason, because they've diverted from the game in some ways. Now the question is, if you've played The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2, you know how Part 2 starts.
Yeah.
And the question is,
which I haven't actually.
So I won't say anything. I'm not going to spoil it because it is not. It is a massive spoiler. This is not a little spoiler. This is a massive spoiler.
I played enough to think this is cool, and then I like so many things. I got distracted.
It's easy, especially today.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm still paused at a certain point in that.
I'll be interested to see how that pans out, how they play that out. Because the other thing too is Bella Ramsey, is what 18 now, and I just don't see her. I don't know how. I got to think that they would move her along and have her be Ellie in season 2. But it really is a stark, like the age difference in the next, from season or Last of Us Part 1 to Part 2 is pretty succinct. So I don't know. I wonder, do they kind of do like with what Guillermo? I can't believe I said that. What Peter Jackson did? It's because he was going to originally do it. What Peter Jackson did with The Hobbit? That. Like, do they just like pump it full of stuff, like lore, and push as many seasons as they can? I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that it was fantastic and it was one of the best things on television this year. I think better than The House of the Dragon. I love The House of the Dragon, but it was really grim. Actually, what am I talking about? Last of Us is pretty grim too.
But
now we've shifted to Plucky Town.
Wait, I can take us back to...
We got Plucky Town now, because right now we've left The House of the Dragon behind. We've left all these like sad shows. And now, we had season 1 of Ted Lasso just premiered this past Wednesday.
Yeah. 3.
Season 3, sorry. They have, and then there's the other show that's playing on Apple TV right now called Shrinking.
Which I haven't watched yet. You've recommended it a few times. I plan to check it out.
I'm going to recommend it again tonight.
Harrison Ford and some...
Jason Segel.
Really quick, I want to recommend for Star Wars fans who, like me, got through season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Oh, I know. Are you going to talk about season 3?
And kind of went, like it wasn't bad. It was season 1 was so good. Season 2 was sort of okay, and then
season 2 had a better second half.
Yeah, it got better, but it was still kind of like maybe you shouldn't do anymore. Maybe you're doing better with these other avenues you're going. Because I loved.
And you forgot season 2.5.
Elmo? What the?
Grogu?
Grogu. What was the other series? That was his name. Andor. Elmo. That's the guy that owns Twitter. But
I did not sing that going.
I loved Andor. I thought that was one of the best Star Wars things that's been done since Rogue One.
But don't you feel like it took 4 episodes to get moving?
Yeah, oh yeah, you've got to. Yeah, because I quit. I watched episode 1 and I stopped.
I know.
I'm.
Rogue One takes the whole movie to get going.
I loved Rogue One. I don't know what it is about that movie.
It's because you and I have a shared love of Gareth Edwards' sense of scale.
Well, yeah, and it's so Star Wars. It's just an action movie. That's it.
Yeah.
No point. But the Mandalorian season 3.
I rebel.
Mandalorian season 3 so far.
Good stuff.
100% redemptive. I forgive them for season 2 and how it waffled and wandered a little bit. And then I also wanted to throw this out too because I finally finished it. It took me 3 months. When did this come out? I don't remember.
What is it?
Wednesday. Tim Burton's Wednesday.
Okay.
I know you're not a Tim Burton fan. I like older Tim Burton stuff, but I'm tired of Tim Burton being Tim Burton and it being so predictable, so I don't really get excited about his stuff anymore.
I like Tim Burton. I don't like Muppets.
Wednesday was very good.
A lot of Muppets in Tim Burton show.
It's a murder mystery, and it stays a murder mystery throughout the series. And I, which leads me back to, did you also hear my opening little monologue there? I went and rewatched all the Scream movies.
Yeah.
And I realized that the reason that 4 and 5 kind of just wander and get dumb is they stopped making fun of horror movies,
and tried to be serious.
Yeah, and they tried to be serious, and that didn't work. You have to be like this one, where they're actually making fun of the whole go to New York thing, like Jason did in Friday the 13th, 400 or whatever. The murder mystery part of the Scream movies, I figured it out. I've been trying to figure out why these movies hold up when other franchises don't. And I'm not saying 6 or 5 or any of them are as good as 1. I'm not trying to say that.
It feels
but I'm
like
saying
they missed a part.
It holds up more.
There was like a little pause where you were like, but it does. You're right.
Yeah.
They stay, and it seems like they've.
But I think it's that murder mystery.
Yeah.
I think it's that element that kind of makes each movie independently compelling, and that's why it holds up. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is that in the discussion of the Oscars and all of that, there was a shout out for Ted Lasso a few times. Got a lot of mentions, and I just wanted to say, as you mentioned, season 3 of Ted Lasso, what is your theory on this show? Why is this? This has reached that character has reached cultural phenomena status. And I don't really understand it. I don't disagree with it.
I think
but I don't
because
understand
it is something that sits on the precipice between anyone. Okay, this is going to sound bad, but like in the culture today, not sound bad, but I don't want to get controversial. But in the culture today, there are like here's an example. They just had the Little Mermaid trailer that was released like a week ago or so.
Oh yeah,
and it has like 1 million dislikes. And it doesn't have 1 million dislikes because they've seen the movie.
I don't like change.
They're like, I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. I saw somebody post about this on Facebook. They're like, oh, great, Disney's going to they're ruining Peter Pan. And I said, how are they ruining Peter Pan?
Can you ruin Peter Pan?
No, I want to say,
you can only improve on
Peter
Pan.
Say the quiet part out loud, right?
Yeah.
When people get mad because they take traditionally white characters, fantasy things that don't exist, and they replace them with representation of people that are alive and living in this world and on this country.
Yeah.
People of color, gay and lesbian characters, and I don't know why that bugs people so bad, but it really irritates a cross section of the country. And so
I would get that it would be weird if you went back and took like a real person, a historical figure, and change their race.
Well, yeah,
or
like if you're like,
or something like
this
that.
is Hitler, he's black.
Yeah,
right.
Just because
like,
we're trying to be inclusive.
It's not.
That would just be weird. But we're talking.
Yeah, it's a mermaid.
It's a cartoon.
It's a mermaid. It was a mermaid
originally, and it's a mermaid.
Yeah,
and,
just whatever.
And you're
bugs me.
Seriously trying to argue that mermaids aren't black.
Yeah,
mermaids aren't real.
But let's reverse this around for just 30 seconds. If it bothers you so much,
as far as I know, mermaids
that they
real.
take a redheaded Disney cartoon character that is Caucasian and they make her an African American, she becomes a black mermaid. And that bothers you. Think how bad think how other people feel when they don't see themselves in the movies. Like, dial it down a couple notches.
And even if someone once, I was saying the same thing. I was saying, you need to really pause for a second and think about what your real objection here is. And if your objection is you are so in love with that original movie that you do not like any change at all, okay. I get that. I felt the same way when they remade Pete's Dragon. I ended up liking it.
Right.
But when they remade Pete's Dragon, I was opposed. I knew the dragon was going to be bigger and meaner and
But if the characters had been black, that wouldn't be
that
something
wouldn't have
you
bothered me. No, but the change, and so if your objection is I love that original movie so much,
please don't remake it.
I hate that you're remaking it at all,
Don't
or I hate that
soil
you're
its
going to make
memory.
it different. Don't
Yeah.
change anything. Just remake it if you're remaking it. I kind of get that.
Sure.
That's still silly in a way. Because you can still watch that one.
Or just don't watch it.
It's not like that one's not available anymore because they remade it.
We're taking this one away now.
Yeah.
You've had it enough.
But honestly, if your objection is the Little Mermaid is going to be black, I think you need to think about why that's your objection.
Well, and that's why Ted Lasso, I think, is popular, right? Is that I could point out that Ted Lasso is fairly liberal, but because maybe it's not, quote-unquote, in your face as much as someone might say, sure. He sits in this precipice between...
Because it's an apolitical plot, mostly.
It is, but they're like an example...
They just wade in
the opening episode, Ted is taking his son Henry to the Heathrow airport. They've spent 6 weeks together, and he's bummed out about it, and the stewardess that's escorting him, into the plane to make sure this little fella makes it back to America. Okay, she says, "Are you excited to go back home, Henry?" And he said, "To play with my toys, yes. To reintegrate into my country's political climate, no." I thought that that was just funny. Anyway, and you could take that any way you want, right?
Sure.
But I think we all kind of know where that is. But that's, I think, why Ted Lasso. It's really. Season 1 was just about pure optimism. Season 2 still had that optimism, but it also came with vulnerability and talking about things that we don't talk about.
I don't think I've ever seen a popular show at network TV, streaming services, whatever,
definitely not streaming,
in which the main character was this
beloved,
adored. Yeah,
I agree.
Everyone just loves this guy, and I even have heard people say they wish there was a real person like that in their lives. We got one quick break, and then on the other side, you want to react to the Oscars at all?
A little bit.
You have any negative things
I have a
to
couple.
say?
No, not negative, but I have a couple things. A couple things to say.
All right, cool. For the People movie show continues right after this.
Spring has sprung, and so have the deals at Murdoch Hyundai. Ready for a season of adventure? Get behind the wheel of a brand new car during our spring sales event. Right now, get 0% for 4 years plus no payments for 90 days on Elantra, Sonata, Kona, and Santa Cruz. And every new Hyundai comes with America's Best Warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, and owner's assurance. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, and Murray, and online at murdochhyundai.com.
Call 866-628-3065 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 4/3/23.
As a small business, achieving your financial goals and ambitions can be a steep and rocky mountain to climb. This is Brent Wallace of Cache Valley Bank. To conquer this mountain and achieve your goals, it takes planning, hard work, and discipline. At Cache Valley Bank, we have the resources, expertise, and flexibility to help you scale your way to success. Give us a call. Let's work together and climb the mountains that await. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Trust this kid any further than I can throw him.
Well, with your bad knee, Ed, you shouldn't throw anybody.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan.
It's Mary Poppins.
It is.
I just can't wait until they remake this and Disney ruins my whole childhood.
That's why I play it, because remember when the sequel was coming out, there were people that were upset that there was going to be a sequel at all, and someone else was playing Mary Poppins. And I want to use that as an example just quickly. That's different than this objection to the new Little Mermaid, I think. A lot of it, at least. Because in that one, they're like, that's such a classic, just leave it alone. And I get that.
Well, I've seen this. They talk about with Peter Pan.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get us back on that one. Because I know you wanted to talk Oscars before we're out of time.
No, so I didn't have a chance. I didn't watch them live like I normally do. But what made me excited was, and I just so you know, I still have to watch this. So this is all based on things I've read and feedback. So I could be, maybe I'm wrong. I'll comment next week. But I love the winners. I have no problem with any of the winners.
Clean up by Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, 7 of the 11 possible categories they won.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I love the most. I love that they didn't try to do anything corny.
Yeah.
That they were just like, hi, we love movies.
Yeah.
Let's do the awards. Here's a few musical numbers in memoriam. I'm going to tell some jokes.
I so hope that wasn't an accident because I thought that worked really, really well.
And that's what they got to do. I mean, they just got to realize that, you're not going to get everybody to watch it. That's just how it works. It's for film lovers.
It was for movie nerds, and they kept to that. And Kimmel, other than that one awkward moment when he made a joke with the woman in the audience, and she just said, I only talk about peace. And he just kind of walked away. Other than that, great host, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't even like him, which is funny. He drives me nuts. But great as an Oscar.
I wish they'd have Guillermo host.
I think it'd be great. That was... and great speeches, too, this year. When you watch, you'll notice. I thought the speeches were great. And some did get political. That never bothers me.
No.
But most of them were just, super sincere and emotional. And I kind of like that in the award show. All right. Next week,
Shazam and John Wick 4.
Shazam. Dave Ramsey next here on KVNU Logan.